Hey everyone, this is Morgan with Rant Division. I'm gonna go ahead and do another tier list right away. This will be the second one for the day. Already streamed one and recorded one earlier. Uh, gonna go ahead and preface this with the fact that I have a pet bird and it is almost his bedtime, so he is going to probably make a little noise. I will try to keep him from being too loud, but I just want to go ahead and let everybody know that ahead of time. So what I want to do here is I wanted to go ahead and do a tier list based on the starters, not based on their appearance, but based on their values in terms of their training, their capabilities, in terms of their basic stats, what move sets they could learn, how viable they were in tournaments, so on and so forth. That will include a couple, like everybody knows that Greninja was an Uber, still is from what I remember. So technically, really strong, but I'm not counting it for, you know, oh, you can't use Ubers kind of thing. It's just going to be any one of them. So let's go ahead and start. I have notes on the other screen you won't be able to see, but they're for me. We're going to start with Oshawott. So for me, Oshawott is bar none the worst Pokemon starter that there is. There is no one that even comes close other than maybe the next contestant. Not giving that away yet. It has the lowest stats out of any starter. Has a really low move set, low health pool. It's just not a good starter. In every single sense, it's the worst starter. There's nothing good to be said about this one, in my opinion. It's cute, I guess. That's about all you could say. So we're going to put that one up there right away. The next one is going to be Chikorita. Chikorita does have the redeeming quality that Meganium actually has somewhat decent stats, but Chikorita itself is really bad. Um, really bad, really slow. The defense stats that Meganium has, Chikorita doesn't really have, and then the move pool is really low. It's just not, stat wise and move wise, is not a good Pokemon, sadly. Moving right on to Chespin. Same issues with Chikorita. Has good stats later into the game. Um, it's just, it's passable. It's almost passable. But at the same time, its stats, and the beginning stats and the, I guess, teenage stats, if you want to call them that. Second stage evolution stats, it leave a lot to be desired, and even when it hits third stage, there's just not enough there to make it a very competitive Pokemon. Not as a sweeper, not as anchor, nothing. It's just not a Pokemon you need. And even from the standpoint of just playing the game for the sake of playing the game, it's just not that great. Its move pool is a little better actually than Chikorita's, which is why I put it higher than Chikorita. But next, we're gonna put Tepig, the first fire type out of this whole thing. You're gonna notice throughout the entire thing that grass and water, for some reason, tend to rank lower in terms of stats and move pool, and I don't know if that's on purpose, or if it's just how it is. It is definitely the weakest fire type. Tepig is the weakest fire type out of all the fire starters, for sure. Like, bar none, there is no one as weak as him. I will say that it's basically because Tepig has a whole bunch of stuff that is just goes against him. I'm trying to think of anything good that I can say about him, because I mean, if you look at the predecessors, Blaziken and Infernape and Charizard, I mean, they're just leagues higher than him in terms of their move pool, in terms of their raw damage output, their stats, just everything about them are way better than him. But looking at it objectively, not even compared to the other fire types, he's still got really low stats and a really kind of crappy move set that he can pull from, move pool, and overall just not worth playing. Let's move on to the next one, which is Snivy. This is a tough one for me because I actually like Superior a lot. Sorry, drinking a little bit of water. I actually like Snivy a lot. Snivy is definitely one of my favorites, and that's from I played it and enjoyed it kind of perspective. But when I did, I do some Pokemon battles online just for fun on Sword and Shield and stuff like that, and looking at it from a competitive point of view, Snivy is just not objectively good. Snivy is somewhat fast and has a decent move pool, but overall, pretty bad. Um, I would still argue D tier, just not worth playing unless you just really like the design of the Pokemon itself. We're gonna move on to Turtwig, and I'm gonna say C tier. Or is going to be anything here on is going to be C tier. Turtwig is to me one of my favorite starters, and Torterra is awesome. Just really, really good defensive stats, a really good move pool, really good typing. Just everything about Torterra is really nice. But again, its overall stats aren't good. It doesn't back up its defensive stats with really good offense, and then its stall game is not as good. You could run a million other Pokemon, not literally, but a bunch of other Pokemon do its job better. But I really like the design of this Pokemon. It's just not competitively, it's not that good. Sobble, this is from Sword and Shield, the water type from it. Personally, it's kind of just like an emo kid design for Inteleon. I don't really get what happened with this one. It's not a really interesting design, and the Pokemon itself, other than the water snipe, I think it was called, something like that. Other than the move it comes with, it's really just kind of a blah character. In terms of stats, it is higher than Torterra, and it does have a decent move pool, but that's partially because Sword and Shield introduced new moves that weren't in the game before. So, it could be partially due to that, but overall, I would say it's just not. If you're going to pick a water type, you're way better off with, well, obviously anyone else other than Oshawott. Alright. Next, we're going to do. Let's put. I want to say Fennekin. Yeah. I think Fennekin is going to go in C tier as well. So, Fennekin is an interesting Pokemon, and I think that they were trying to take like the popularity of Ninetales and kind of capitalize on it in the new starter. Obviously, it doesn't look exactly like Ninetales, and it's not like a duplicate, but there are some similarities, and a lot of people like, the Fox Pokemon. So I think maybe that's kind of what they were going for. Its stats are really kind of weighted towards its special stats, which makes it not bad as like a special sweeper. But if you're going to run a special sweeper that isn't an Uber, you still have a ton of other options that are just way better. Even when it comes to starters, there are so many starters that do Fennekin's exact job better. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now, this is another tough one for me. It's going to be Trico. Trico is definitely going to be the next one. It's tough for me because it's just like Snivy. I have the bias from playing the game, really enjoying the Pokemon. I like its design. I like how it looks. I like its moveset, what the premise behind the character is, but I have to look at it from a competitive point of view. It's just not that great of a competitive Pokemon. It has its strengths and it has its place to where it could definitely do the work as a sweeper if it needs to, or as an anchor. But overall, it's just like the other ones, has the same issue to where if you're going to pick up a grass type that's got decent speed and attack, there are tons of other choices that have a better move pool and better stats. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This one's going to be from the newest Sword and Shield. It's going to be Grookey. So, Grookey itself is just kind of cute. Not really that special. Stats are meh. But a Rillaboom is really, really good and somewhat underrated in my opinion. I would say that Rillaboom doesn't get the attention that he deserves, and if he had slightly better speed, I would put him higher in this, because he would be able to cover so much more ground and do a lot of jobs better than he normally does. There are sadly better options because he's not that fast, but I still really like his moveset and I like his stats. He's overall not a bad Pokemon, so I'm going to put him at B. The next one is going to be Poplio, for sure. I don't really like the whole red nose thing. Like, it's just kind of goofy to me. Just a big red nose. If they would have just like made it a smaller black nose and like tried to make it less cartoonish looking. Like, I know it's a cartoon character. I know that they're supposed to be cute or whatever, but it ventures from like I don't even know how to describe it, honestly. It seems silly. Going from a aesthetic to a objectively how is its stats, how is its moveset, it's kind of meh. It's meh in terms of it's higher than any one of these, but it's still meh in terms of it won't beat any of these. So there's not much to say about it. It's Primarina. I never played Primarina, never used it, and I have to look at this because there's a couple of Pokemon here I haven't personally used a lot. I have to look at it from a point of view of stats, move pool, tournament play, stuff like that. And from what I can tell, what I would say, Poplio is not that great. Kind of a just middle of the tier kind of Pokemon. Go to the next one. I don't remember which one this is from, if I'm perfectly honest. I think this is from the last one. Rowlet. So Rowlet, I have it in my notes, but I don't recall this Pokemon. I think it's from Sun and Moon, but I don't quite remember. I like birds. I have a pet bird. It's kind of a cute Pokemon, I guess. And from what I can see, its stats really aren't that bad. It's got nice typing, that's for sure. But it being part ghost and grass, like ghost grass type, that's crazy. That there is no other ghost starter in the entire game. So that's really interesting, but it's not enough to carry it. Its stats really aren't that amazing, and even with the ghost typing like grass, its moveset isn't that wide. So it's going to go right above him. Sorry. Let's go with Squirtle next. And let me tell you why. So, another biased one for me. I really like Squirtle during the starters, during the first gen. Definitely one of my favorite starters. It's not that fast, but had really good defense, special defense, and basically bring it in as an anchor for me, at least. I'd bring it in when I had, a baton pass and I wanted to just tank a hit and then absolutely decimate with a hydro pump on the last Pokemon of an enemy. It was my anchor Pokemon. Or just bring it in when I knew it could tank 2 or 3 hits from whatever it was fighting. Or they'd be forced to make a bad switch, stuff like that. Overall, decent Pokemon, very basic, straight water type, no mixture, but still has a really decent moveset, huge health pool, decent defense, special defense, and the speed really isn't that bad compared to other slower Pokemon. So we're going to move right into the next one. The next one, we're going to start hitting A tier. So we're going to go Cyndaquil next. This one might be a little upsetting for some people. I know a huge fan base for Typhlosion. Typhlosion is really strong. In terms of fire types, though, not the best, actually. Has a really decent move set. Um, Actually, from what I remember, it has a wider move pool than a lot of basic fire types, which is kind of strange. But its stats are what kind of slow it down a little bit and don't put it at the top of the tier list. So, it's a nice Pokemon. Nothing really bad to say about it, but nothing too amazing about it either, other than it has an oddly wide move set. Totodile is going to be next, just because Feraligatr is a monster. If you've seen any tournament play from any of the previous games, Feraligatr is an absolute beast. There's been some changes to the game, new Pokemon come out, stuff like that, and he stopped seeing tournament play, but for a long time he was a problem, I can promise you. Has a huge health pool, has great stats, great move pool. He's just a very dangerous Pokemon. We're going to go to Scorbunny next, which is from the newest game, Sword and Shield. Cinderace is really... So, Cinderace has good stats. It has a really wide move pool because of it being in the new game, coming out with the new game. It has a move that only Cinderace has. And overall, that's cool and all, and it gives it access to a weird move pool that most fire types wouldn't have. Its speed is decent, and its stats are pretty good, but overall, again, there are other fire types that do the job better, but it's still a solid, like, you could get away with using this Pokemon in a tournament and might win part of it. You definitely wouldn't finish with that, but you do pretty well. Let's go with Bulbasaur next. I'm putting Bulbasaur, in 8th place. I don't know if you knew this or not, but we only have 8 left, so 8th place. Because Venusaur is an amazing anchor, but also an amazing starter, and I don't mean Bulbasaur is a great starter. Venusaur is a good starter to bring him out as soon as you enter a battle. He's got a really good setup move list, but he's also got a really good anchor move list. He's got a good build-up move list. He's got a great move set. He's really tanky and has a huge health pool. He's just the definition of a bulk Pokemon. He's really strong. I would say highly underestimated, but he does get tournament play, so still gonna put him in A. Not quite A+ yet, because these all see tournament play occasionally, but there's better Pokemon for their job, in my opinion, at least. This is all opinion based. Remember that. This is opinion based. Don't get mad at me. Well, opinion based and stat based, but let's see. This is a tough decision. I'm gonna say Piplup next. Piplup, Empoleon has a really good typing. Empoleon's typing is really, really, really strong, which also gives it a really good move set. It has a huge health pool, and its stats are really nice. If this Pokemon had the speed that it needed, it would be the scariest sweeper next to Kingdra. It's a scary, scary sweeper. People don't usually use it as such. I believe Empoleon's usually used as a setup. But overall, I really like Piplup. Very strong. Not going to give it A+, but it's definitely really, really up there. It's really close between these two. Let's go... I want to say Litten next. This one has some slight bias to it because I really like Incineroar. When Super Smash Ultimate came out, I really wanted to use Incineroar, but unfortunately my competitive side took over, and now I play Cloud and Samus and Lucina because I want to be competitive with it. So Incineroar has amazing stats. it has really, really, really low speed for a fire type, especially if you compare it to most of these fire types. But Incineroar's overall stats are scary, like really scary. This thing hits like a truck. You, if you see it come into play, it needs to die. It needs to die first turn, because if it, especially if it comes out with any sort of buffs on it to start, you're screwed. Specifically, if it comes in with a speed buff, like Baton Pass speed buff, you are so screwed. It hits so hard. This is going to be my first A+, actually. It has a great moveset, good typing. Well, I think it's just a basic fire type. Fire Dark, actually. It's just really strong. It it has higher stats by like almost 100 compared to the other fire types on the list so far. Like, it's insane how much stronger it is. Let's move on to the next one. This is a close one. I'm gonna say Torchic next, because Infernape and Blaziken are really, really close in terms of how good they are. But I am definitely putting Torchic next, and I'm going to tell you why. So, I would say this is going to be a little controversial, for sure. So, Blaziken is Uber tier, I believe. Blaziken is very, very strong and is a really good sweeper. Even, I would say, a better sweeper than Incineroar, simply because it has a way better speed stat. But a lot of people who are obsessed with Blaziken, they can't overlook their prejudice towards how much they like the Pokemon itself, as opposed to running a Pokemon that would do its job better. It is a really good Pokemon. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. And it's seen a ton of tournament play. It is very, very good. You could absolutely win a tournament running this Pokemon. But it's just not the best. It has a... What is its hidden... It has a hidden tier or hidden ability. And I can't remember what it's called. I think it's Speed Boost. I think it gains speed per turn, which makes Blaziken a really good Pokemon if you have a setup. Like, say you got a Pokemon that has Sleep Powder plus Baton Pass and... what is that other... I can't remember what the other one is. But basically, you set up Sleep Powder, switch to Blaziken, start gaining speed, but you also gain... attack stat with whatever the setup move is. I cannot remember it for the life of me right now. But you set up into Blaziken, and Blaziken boosts its own speed and becomes a sweeper. Plus has a really good move set, because fire and fighting are so dangerous in terms of sweeping. It's a great Pokemon. It really is. But I'm sticking by what I said. I think Infernape is better. Which leads me to the next one. Infernape is going to be right above it. Oops. Well, this is Chimchar, but Infernape, basically. Basically, same thing. Firefighting. So, has a huge move pool. It doesn't have the speed boost ability the Blaziken has. But it does have a hidden ability called Iron Fist. And it increased the power of punches by 20%. That includes Fire Punch, Thunder Punch, and Mach Punch. And all of that tied into the fact that there's stab bonuses and the fact that it has an amazing speed and amazing attack. It just makes him a scary, scary sweeper without a real need to set up super hard. A lot of sweepers can... Pretty much any sweeper can sweep if there's a huge setup for him. That's just how it is. If it's fast enough and it's got enough boosts on it, it's gonna sweep. You have people who run defensive types or stallers that are meant to take those hits so that they can stop a sweeper from just cleaning their entire team. But he can sweep a team without any setup. Very scary. We're gonna go with Mudkip next for obvious reasons. This is going to be our first S tier. Mudkip, or Swampert, is extremely dangerous. Has phenomenal stats across the board, has an amazing ability, and has amazing combos it can run with a lot of other Pokemon. And on top of that, it has amazing type coverage. It has amazing move pool. Like, everything about Mudkip is phenomenal. Now, I don't remember if Swampert is Uber or not, but should be. Because you could absolutely have this in a tournament team, and no one would scoff at it. So, so this is the last two, and people can probably guess it, and some people might be upset about this one. So, Charmander's going to be next. So, Charmander is a amazing Pokemon, and I thoroughly enjoy Charizard. For obvious reasons, everyone loves Charizard, has decent stats, and even though it's a fan favorite, you can still look at the fan favorite and tell that if you look at it from an objective point of view, Kiwi quit. It has amazing stats, has an amazing move pool, and it can sweep an entire team, not to mention Mega Evolutions, and it just looks really cool. Calm down, Kiwi. It's my bird. I'm very, very sorry. Let's go ahead and end this. Obviously, everybody knew Greninja was going to be number one. Greninja is extremely lethal, strength of a legendary, stats of a legendary, amazing move pool, just a phenomenal sweeping Pokemon that if you're allowed to put it in your tournament team, put it in your tournament team, because there's almost no Pokemon that matches Greninja. It is not even comparable. And I personally didn't even like Greninja when he first came out, but after I got a hold of him, got to use some of his moves and got to play a little bit, it's a very scary Pokemon. So, alright, so that's what I've got for starters in the tournament play, and in terms of their raw stats. You can also use this if you're going to go play a new game, and you want to, start with one of these. This will give you an idea of which one is the strongest. If you have any ideas for content or anything like that, leave it in the comments below. I'm going to be posting once or twice a day, doing more streaming, uploading more. If you have any ideas or anything you want me to do, just say something. Anything I can improve on, also tell me. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.